Here's what we're buzzing about at NewsBeast. 3 weeks to the day to the Iowa caucus. Newt versus Mitt is getting ugly. It's getting weird. It's getting personal. And their wives are coming in. We're going to be talking about the impact of Ann and Callista on that front of the fight. But first, the cheat. Lucas, what you got?
The Russian spring continues, or is it just a mild warming? We're not quite sure yet. There was a pro-Putin rally yesterday that was a total dud. Hardly anyone showed up at all.
You can't even fix a rally anymore.
I know, indeed. What happened to the old KGB hardman of yesterday? I don't think this is going to be I don't think we're going to see Putin go out of office anytime soon, but this is getting very, very interesting. We've got the owner of the New Jersey Nets trying to take him on. It's not going to be a slam dunk if Kornikov.
Nice extension.
There we go. Yeah,
very nice.
I had to get that one in there.
Little known fact, actually, Lucas was a college basketball player.
Well,
that's not remotely true.
I was on the bench, but
what? Like. Jeez. I'm trying to imagine you on the call. I dig that. So, but here's the thing: the New Jersey Nets owner.
Yeah.
Allegedly, there's also an angle that this isn't a principled opposition, but this is actually sort of in cahoots with Putin and the Kremlin to kind of create a false opposition to divide the real opposition.
Oh, very clever.
Just saying.
Those folks at the Kremlin, they're always cooking up something new.
They're always cooking up something new.
That's right.
Rebecca?
I'm here to talk about Buddy and Pedro, the gay penguins at the Toronto Zoo,
Aww.
who were forced apart so cruelly because they are an endangered species. They'd made a sweet little, very well decorated nest together, but
so stereotypical.
For the future of the species, they're being forced to procreate with women.
Are they evidently unhappy about this?
You know, I think they're fine about it. You have to be careful not to put human traits onto animals. This is something that people often do, or take too many lessons about God's plan from the animal kingdom.
Or assigning them a well-decorated nest, for example.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, I feel kind of bad for Buddy and Pedro. They had a good thing going, and they were ripped apart and forced to go and find beards and make children. And I just think that, you know, it's sort of like, you know how Jim McGreevey feels now.
Will this be a future Disney film?
I hope so. I hope they're filming it. That's actually a great idea.
Occupy. Occupy now occupying ports on the West Coast, or Oakland, Portland. And there are signs that sort of this might be the future of what Occupy does. I think that would be a big mistake. If they get into sort of militant disruption stuff, the ironies here are all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of important things that I think Occupy's already done to reframe the national debate about wealth inequality. But when you're blocking ports, people rationally are going to say, what does this have to do with, you know, big banks? And even if you can make a tangential case, you remember what happened in the late 1960s when the hard hats turned against the protesters on the Vietnam War. There was a quote in an AP story today that I thought was fascinating. It was actually one of the truck drivers who's being blocked. She's saying, this is a joke. What are they protesting? Said Christian Vega, who was stuck out of the protest, saying the delay was costing him $600. It only hurts me and the other drivers. We have jobs and families to support and feed. Most of them don't. That's the kind of backlash you're going to breed, and it's not going to create the kind of political change they want to see.
What is their stated reason for doing this?
That allegedly Goldman Sachs is a major investor in one of the port companies. So it's a bank shot at Goldman.
My question is, Occupy what? I mean, this is so last month at this point. We've kind of I feel like they were you know, they made their stand. They were pushed out of Wall Street. Now it feels very disorganized, chaotic. There's no kind of solidarity there anymore.
Well, I remember when we first started the show, we were talking about, you know, it did feel like the Occupy movement in that form had reached its apex, and we were wondering a lot about what was going to come of it. And, you know, in Los Angeles, they were offered office space and farms to work on. And I think that really, I mean, this does suggest that that maybe they've gone in a direction that those of us who just sit here and talk about it would have hoped that they would have chosen another direction.
Yeah.
Sort of more organization, more political activism, more of an engagement in the actual process.
A specific agenda. Let's talk Obsessional. We got a specific election agenda going on. Newt versus Romney's heating up. Newt's still up in Iowa. Romney yesterday saying for the first time that he doesn't consider himself the front runner, saying sort of fascinatingly in an interview, saying I've got two great options. I got the nomination, or I can go home to my family and business. But they're deploying their families in particular. Romney, this is an obvious move. He did an early ad showing him a great family, and now he's deploying his wife to make ads as a compelling figure. And then, obviously, her shadow opposite being Callista. Unlikely that she's going to take a forefront in the Iowa caucuses, but if he gets the nomination, she'll have to be sort of relaunched. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I always love the stage in a campaign when they deploy the wives.
Yes, deploy the wives.
Like the deploying of Michelle as if she is like an armed force unto herself.
She is an armed force.
Yeah, I mean, I am most excited for when Callista takes a more prominent role in this race. I think she's fascinating. I mean, look, Newt he's had to deal with the ugly details of his personal life, and I think the relationship between the two of them, I mean, Peter Boyer gets into it in his wonderful Newsweek cover story this week, but
it is a great story.
How much impact Callista has on Newt as a candidate, how she relates to his organization. I mean, there have been rumors since the beginning that she's been a problem in this campaign. She forced him to go on a vacation. His whole staff quit. There have been sort of buzz and negative sniping about her from the beginning. So I think it'll be very interesting once she has to take a bigger role.
She sounds like the opposite of a problem to me. I mean, she seems like she's instilling a bit of discipline with him, kind of managing some of his image, some of these problems that he's had, and so I think she might actually be a force for good for
what do you think,
Gingrich.
Tom?
Look, I mean, I think Romney's family. Thank you very much. Not personally, but tangentially. Look, I mean, I think Mitt Romney's family is clearly an asset, but I do think you run the risk of looking a little bit cynical when you deploy them in moments of desperation. For Callista, the dynamic of a third wife on a campaign can be pretty significant in terms of the role she's playing. Ultimately, we don't vote for families; we vote for individuals. So I think we keep our eye on the ball. I think this is a sideshow. Final word.
Unoccupied.
Blonde.
Callista, because it's fun to say. Okay, that's all from us from NewsBeast. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's fun to say.